Anybody who clicked on this video, you probably know you already need to read books. The question is, what books should be the top of your list? Whether you're setting new resolutions for the year or you are just trying to take your game to the new level, I've seen a lot of people pick and choose the wrong books, and they take the wrong approach to getting new knowledge and applying the knowledge. Look, what I've learned in my career, guys, those of you who don't know me, I have made millions of dollars in commissions. I'm 32 years old. I'm a single dad of 3 kids. I take pride in the fact that I have success in my home life, success with my health, and success with my business and company. My company right now is a sales organization that produces over $30 million a year in sales through the solar industry. And so I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of the lessons I learned in the books I read early on and have been a game changer throughout my career. And as I was going through this video and preparing some of the notes here, I've got some of the key lessons from each book, and specifically how each one of these books in my top 10 list will make a difference and help you sell more deals, help you make more in commissions, change your mindset, your limiting beliefs you have. I want to share with you a lesson I've learned from my good friend Jeremy Miner. He says, look, the biggest problem you have in sales is the problem you don't know you have. Okay, so this is why reading is so important. Now, here's what I want to give you guys a generalized thing here. Success in selling is not just tactical knowledge. I'm not going to give you guys just books on tactics. 80% of success in selling is mindset. 20% is tactical skill. So we're going to be sharing a hybrid of these books. And I have read every single one of these. I'm going to give you specifically how it's impacted me and how it's going to impact you. Now, here's a principle I want you guys to really take home. I had a friend that read 100 books in 1 year, and his life didn't change much. In fact, his business went bankrupt, okay? You get more out of studying 10 really good books than you do out of reading 100 books. The game is not knowledge. The game is applied knowledge. So if you are reading and not applying the principles or noting them down and execute on those things, it does nothing for you. And most information you read or listen to, you're going to forget. So one of my tips right off the bat, before we jump into the top 10 books, is do not just listen to audiobooks. I hear so many people doing this on the treadmill, in the sauna, that's great. You want to do things like that in the car when you don't have anything else more productive to do. But it's like 20% of the effectiveness versus reading. You guys understand, when I read these books, I fold down pages, I take notes on everything so that I can go back and reread most of the book in 5 to 10 minutes and extract the key lessons. Okay, if you want to take it a step further, you journal what areas of your life that you're going to implement specific things. So in one book, for example, there might be 20 different key principles, but 6 really speak out to you. And the other 14 you already do. So note those 6 things down. And then you want to live what it's called the protege effect, where you teach other people. It's one of the fastest ways to learn something other than executing and taking action. We will be talking about that in this video, okay? The fastest way to learn any skill is immersion, and the second way is repetition, not reading. Immersion and repetition. The knowledge in these books is just going to give you a couple key principles that are only leveraged if you apply them through repetition and time. Let's jump into it, okay? The first book I'm talking about is Start With Why by Simon Sinek, okay? This book is paramount, okay? The key lesson for me specifically was that conviction beats confidence, okay? So why you sell what you sell is more important than how to sell. If your why is big enough, you'll find a way how. I'm proof of that. When I was 22 years old, I was the #1 solar rep out of a company producing over $400 million in sales. Okay, and I had never sold anything before, just Jesus, okay? Now, listen, the reason why is because we all know that people don't buy off of logic. They buy off of emotion and then justify logic. To take it further for you guys, this book will teach you that the amygdala is the control center of your brain, okay? The amygdala controls your emotions. And the amygdala fires when you talk out of passion, out of purpose. And what's fascinating is Harvard did a study that when your amygdala is firing and you're speaking about your conviction, about your product or how you live your life or something, it fires the amygdala, aka the emotional control center, in the other person you're trying to sell. So if you have a bigger why, okay, you will have bigger influence. And not only do you have a bigger influence, you will take more action. Now, how does this specifically impact your career? This is the solution to burnout. If you have a problem, if you've ever suffered from burnout, this is the problem. You don't burn out because of what you do, guys. You burn out because of why you do it. So the other thing I love about this book, guys, is that it will give you the fuel to take more action. Look, you may have the perfect vehicle, you may have the best company, the best training, the best leadership, but if you don't have fuel to move that vehicle forward, that's your why, that's your purpose, that's your drive, you're not going to take the action to get there. Okay? So this is why this is the first book I recommend. And it will also help you understand what is your personal why. Okay? And as you write that out and you think about it, it's not something you'll know right away, but it's something you want to start thinking about now. But it does take time, and the more action you take, ironically, the more you will discover that why. And a personal note I'll add for you guys, okay? Overcoming my adversity, my pain in my life, whether it's overcoming pornography and the adversity of a divorce, being a single dad of 3 kids, in different battles I fought in business, okay, that has actually created a lot of my passion and purpose for what I do. And so this book will also help you shift the way you see your shit into fertilizer. It'll shift, that obstacle, and you'll help you see it as an opportunity. All right, guys, the second book on the list is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This is a classic, and I know what you're thinking. Half you have already read this, but listen, there's a couple things I'm going to talk about that you guys might not have gotten the first or second time you've read this book. I personally have read this book about 6 times, okay? And it's not enough, but I reread key notes from it. I've opened this book up probably 50 different times. All right. One of the key lessons that I've seen, there's a lot of things in here that he talks about, but one of the big ones that has profoundly impacted my sales career, okay, specifically in solar, was this principle of specialized knowledge trumps generalized knowledge. I see a lot of people trying to learn a little bit of everything. Those men, Napoleon Hill studied 500 of the most successful men and women in America to have ever lived. And he's telling you, he knew a lot of smart people that knew a lot of things about a lot of different fields and subjects, and they were not successful. But the people that had the discipline to focus on one specific niche and master and take it to the next level and keep pushing the barrier. Okay, the difference between 97th percentile and 99th percentile is not a 2% income. It's usually a 2,000% difference in income. So you need to obsess on becoming the best in a specific space, okay? People don't buy you. They buy your conviction, your confidence. A lot of that conviction comes from how sold you are, and a lot of that, the conviction of being sold, comes from your knowledge about your field and expertise. It's not just objection handling skills. It's not just product knowledge. It's people knowledge. It's personal conviction. The other thing Napoleon Hill talks about, guys, is how big goals are completely useless unless you have the right desire and belief. And he teaches you the framework of how to increase your desire and belief. So if you are lacking with personal belief or you're lacking on hitting big goals and you can't figure out why, this is a fantastic book to read. The other thing I was talking about was adversity and how that is an advantage. Napoleon Hill directly quotes saying, with every adversity comes with it an equal or greater seed of opportunity. Notice he doesn't say lesser or equal. It's equal or greater. So adversity is a gift. That is how pearls, that is how diamonds are created, is under pressure. Sometimes the adversity that God or the universe is thrown on us, guys, that is not life happening to you. That is life happening for you. And Napoleon Hill talks about all these successful stories and how every single hyper-successful man and woman he studied, they 100%, not 99% of the time, 100% of the time had disproportionate amount of adversity in their life. So if you had a hard upbringing, God loves you, my friend. You're destined for bigger things. So practical takeaways from this book, guys. You're going to learn and shift the way you look at persistence, okay? He talks about how persistence of the mouth and sales persistence will only get you so far, but it's persistence of the mind that will make you rich. That is pushing through adversity, pushing through rejection. So if you have a hard time with rejection, this book is for you. It'll help you improve your results through a mastermind group. Guys, I have spent over $500,000 in the last 2 years alone just on getting in rooms with bigger and smarter people than myself. And I'll tell you, that is the reason I see a lot more success in my life, and it's the fastest way to shortcut success. And in today's world, we're so blessed with social media and to get around high-level entrepreneurs, high-level salespeople very quickly. And yes, you have to pay them to get around them. That is a secret I'll give you guys, okay? This book will also help you think bigger and organize a clear plan to hit any target. Napoleon Hill has a 6-step blueprint on exactly how to hit any goal. And I see people missing many of those steps every time they set goals. One of the key steps is any goal you set, you have to understand how is what you're selling, what you're doing, what you're setting out to do, how does it impact other people? People often forget that. When I was making $200,000 a month selling solar, okay, I was obsessed, not on my commissions, but on how much value am I creating for homeowners. And that conviction was always portrayed to the homeowners. That is why my close rate was over 80%. That's why my retention was over 90%, okay? So people buy that energy. And then another practical takeaway you'll get is how to program your subconscious mind for success. What does that mean, Nick? We face so much rejection and failure in sales and as entrepreneurs. And if you set a big target, okay, let's say you've made only 200,000 and you're setting a goal for $500,000. Well, what happens is your brain starts reverse engineering the math for what you've already done. And let's say you've never made more than 20,000 a month. And all of a sudden you're shooting out to go do 40, 50,000 a month. Your brain's gonna call bullshit. And so unless you program it for success. Okay, so Napoleon Hill gives you the framework for how to do that. Guys, number 3 is Atomic Habits. This book was a game changer. To be honest with you, I read this later in my career, and it's had a profound impact with building my companies. So James Clear is the author of this book, and one of the biggest takeaways I got specifically that has changed my sales game and how I train salespeople and how I've seen it impact their sales career is shifting your obsession from goals to systems. Systems beat goals every single time. And so I see a lot of people set big goals, but they don't have a system. What are the KPIs? What are the key point indicators? What are the metrics that you have to hit in order to hit that bigger macro goal? Okay. The other big takeaway I got was environment shapes behavior. So if you want to change your behavior, which we all know will change our results, the fastest way to do that is by changing your environment. Who are you around? Where do you work? Okay. I have another video where I talk about goal setting. And I talk about specifically how important it is that you prime your environment for success. One of the key things on how it's specifically gonna make you more money, okay? Right here, predictable action leads to predictable sales and income. So success is calculated. Nothing happens by accident, okay? So he's gonna help you understand that there is a process that you can follow. And sometimes we set off to do a really big target and then we are on pace for it, but we give up because it's too lofty. And so he talks about how you want to actually start small. And I see a lot of people, they come in with these swings of motivation to set this huge lofty target, but then what happens a week or 2 weeks later or 3 weeks or a month later when they're not feeling it? They fall off. And so he talks about how there's this domino effect of doing a little bit and then that can stack and you can do more and more and more, okay? So he also teaches how to perform at a high level without motivation, and this is part of what I'm talking about. So if you struggle with motivation, Atomic Habits is a fantastic book. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, my good friend Jeremy Miner has talked a lot of shit on this book. I'll tell you, it is time tested. This book will be famous 100 years from now. I have gotten so many great lessons and principles from this book, using people's names, asking the right questions, how to leverage empathy and truly understand people, okay? So please do not think that this book is outdated. It is not outdated, okay? Dale Carnegie studied the most influential men, and one of the big things I learned from there was how critical enthusiasm is to not just being a top performer in sales, but a top entrepreneur. Never has anyone done any great feat regarding influence selling, persuading, recruiting without enthusiasm, okay? So specific things that you're gonna get from How to Win Friends and Influence People, okay? Key lessons. People want to feel understood, not convinced. People hate to be sold, but they love to buy. Validation beats trust faster than logic. And he talks about how you can validate people in an authentic, not a phony or fake way, okay? Because if you do it wrong, it will always backfire. It talks about how empathy is the superpower to influence. This is one of the biggest lessons I have learned in my sales career that I will tell you guys. I've seen Stephen R. Covey also talk about this. The Go Giver talks about this. But empathy is a superpower of human influence where I see myself and a few other top salespeople where we are different. And we have this bullfighter mentality, but people who don't have empathy alongside their enthusiasm, alongside their tenacity and persistence, they are drastically hindered because they cannot connect to more people. So your ability to love and empathize and detach from your expectation and see their like what they want will literally triple your sales. Okay, I've personally seen it. And he talks about exactly how to do that. So if you suck at empathy, if you suck at understanding other people's perspectives, this is a fantastic book. Okay, we talked about enthusiasm. Okay, specific things. You're going to get how objections soften when people feel understood. So you're going to understand the exact framework of how to help everybody feel understood. And at everyone's core, successful or unsuccessful people, doesn't matter. Everyone is craving validation. Everyone is craving to feel understood. And so Dale Carnegie, better than anyone I've ever studied, has clearly outlined how to help people feel understood. This is going to not just help your sales, it'll help you in leadership, it'll help you in your relationship, and many other parts of your life. Okay, closing becomes collaborative, guys, not combative. Okay, I think of sales trainers like Andy Elliott. I've talked to their team. It is combative. It's Drew, girl, you're a pussy if you don't do this. It's just like too pushy. Grant Cardone's team is the same way. There's many things I love about these guys, but this is what they get wrong: is it's not a collaborative experience. It's a push. So if you feel like you ever have to be that pushy salesperson, these guys. Dale Carnegie teaches this best, how you can actually win people over without being pushy. Okay, in the next book, one of the other books we're going to talk about is The 7 Habits. It's a few books later, but Stephen R. Covey also hits on this. All right, guys, number 5 is The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. Look, this book is great. 1, it's very short. 2, if you suck at reading and you have a short attention span, this book is fantastic because it's telling a story. All right, it feels like you're watching a movie, not reading a book. Now, it also hits on not just mindset. It doesn't hit on just tactical. It hits on a little bit of everything, what it takes to be the best. And what I love about this book is that you learn principles of loving and serving and empathy, persistence, self-belief. All right, I've seen some of the most best looking, the most outgoing, confident, big talking sales guys that haven't even got 10% of the results that I have. And I've seen this time and time again. And then I've seen other people I've trained that don't have the gift to gab. They don't have that same confidence, those good looks. They're very nerdy, introverted. I've seen these people dominate. And it's because they follow the principles that the go-giver and the greatest salesman in the world teaches. Okay, it's 1, character precedes performance. Stephen R. Covey also talks about this. You have to win internally before you win externally. Convincing others is external success. Convincing yourself, that's internal success. You have to win with yourself first. Okay? Just imagine you set some huge sales targets. You're trying to hike Mount Everest. Okay? But you got a 200-pound bag on your back. You can still hike the damn mountain. But if you take the bag off, grow yourself personally, it's a hell of a lot easier to climb that mountain. Okay? That is why self-development precedes sales training. I'll say it again. Who you're becoming, who you're developing to become is more important than how you sell. Okay? I see so many people get lost, distracted by amazing sales trainers out there that bait you with marketing and trap you into thinking you just need better ways to handle objection. You just need better one-liners. Okay? That's like me being working for big, like as part of big pharma, saying, hey, you have an attention deficit disorder? Well, here's a pill. I make money, buy my pills. Okay? It's not a long-term solution, okay? So, a couple other things. He talks about how discipline compounds over time. I've personally seen this in my life. Integrity is essential to long-term success, okay? So some of you guys say, oh, Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street was a fantastic salesman, right? Business owner. Yeah, he was for a season. Integrity always catches up to you, always. Not 99% of the time, 100% of the time. If you don't humble yourself, if you don't change, I promise you the big man upstairs or the universe, whatever you believe in, will humble your ass. I'm a witness of that, okay? And it's the best thing that'll happen to you. Now look at this, how this book will impact you. You will learn how to sell more without cutting corners and sabotaging trust, all right? You see, guys, you see a theme with all these books. Confidence comes from self-respect, not outcomes, okay? Next, the 10X rule by Grant Cardone. Let me just hit on this for you guys. I have a lot of people that don't like Grant Cardone, and I can understand. As I've gotten more proximity with him, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with. But when it comes to his mindset around work ethic and sales and business, it is top-notch, and it is a complete mind shift that I think every salesperson is limiting and hindering themselves because of ego, judging Cardone, to not take his brain. and how he thinks about this stuff. It doesn't mean you need to take his character, but you need to adopt some ways of how he thinks, because I've used them and I've gotten disproportionate success without having to compromise my personal values, okay? So a couple of things you'll get in the 10X rule. So people who blame markets, leads, or just anything, like any reason to not work, this is your book, okay? So he talks about a polarizing concept, that this thought of being average, how you need to adopt, it's a plague of our society, okay? Mediocrity is a plague. I know that's very polarizing, but I think it's a great way to think. He talks about how effort beats skill, because through volume, aka effort, you're going to develop the education, aka the skill, the close rate. Don't obsess on the close rate if you don't have that first foundation down. Imagine trying to erect a massive building like the Empire State Building, a very big sales goal, and you say, all I need is sales training. That is like you building a half-assed foundation and then trying to build one of the biggest buildings in the world. The thing's gonna topple over. You're not gonna have the success. You need a foundation of execute, outwork. If you think you're special, gonna shortcut the process because you saw some Miami bro that's doing virtual sales saying you don't need to work that hard, you're in for a rude awakening, my friend. I live in the door-to-door industry. I have a lot of friends that make multiple 7 figures per year. I know very few people in easier sales jobs that make more than $300,000 a year. There's a reason. They're trying to shortcut the hard stuff. Let me just give you a little secret. There's no way around it. If you try to find a way around it, you're gonna find yourself in a hole, okay? Getting lapped by people who just embrace the hard work. And you'll realize that hard work builds character, builds discipline. And even if you have the success on an easier path, you won't appreciate it unless you bust your ass. So the 10X rule, guys, is a fantastic book to help you with this mindset. Helps you with embracing failure, understanding that success is your duty and obsession is a gift. So Grant Cardone totally shifted my mindset. I grew up with everybody saying, Nick, you're obsessed, you're a weirdo, you're psychotic. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Like something's wrong with me. Grant Cardone shifted my mindset because he's the same way. And I'm like, oh, I'm not alone. Okay, so if you have this obsessive personality, a lot of people with addictions have this as well. Cardone was addicted to drugs. I was addicted to porn. I have quit. He's quit his drugs, and we've transmuted that same focus into business and serving and empowering other people. And it's a great thing, guys. It's a great healthy drug, is serving people and working hard. So other key practical takeaways, okay? How it's gonna increase your bottom line in sales. The fastest way to improve skill is to increase the number of reps. Tony Robbins also teaches this. Remember what I said, repetition and immersion are the two fastest ways to learn a skill. Not reading a book, not doing some sales training course, okay? Change your mindset. So for anyone who's a perfectionist or you struggle with work ethic, this book will completely change your mindset, okay? If you have limiting beliefs around money and success, this is probably one of the best books you can read. And then you also learn how to not compete, but to dominate. So for those of you who are top players and you feel like you can take it easy, this will light a fire under your ass to take your game to a whole new level and understand how if you do dominate versus just beating people, how you'll get about 10x to success, okay? Not 2x or 3x. All right, guys, number 7 is The Psychology of Selling by the infamous Brian Tracy. Guys, I have studied this book various times. This book, guys, is gonna help you understand that This book, guys, is going to help you understand that when it comes to selling, more important than your competence about something is your confidence. People buy your confidence, okay? And he talks about how you have to win internally. You have to sell yourself. He talks a lot about how you have to understand goal setting. And he breaks down in this book how to guarantee you hit any goal. So if you struggle with hitting your goals, this is a great book to read. It's not just about how to change the psychology of other people to sell them, but he talked about first getting your psychology right and how you have to sell yourself, okay? Now, in this book, your practical takeaways, you're gonna learn specifically how to get more appointments. Guys, what I love about this book, Psychology of Selling, is Brian Tracy gives so many tactical and very specific things to sales, one-liners, mindsets, patterns for setting goals, etc. Okay, one of those things is, again, how to set more appointments. He's going to help you drastically improve your close rate through a lot of these things you're gonna get in there, okay? It's going to give you the best questions to ask to allow people to sell themselves. Okay, think about when you go visit a doctor. The doctor doesn't tell you, you need this, this, and this. When you go visit the doctor, all he does is ask you questions. and you kind of self-diagnose. And after he asks you a certain series of questions, he knows exactly what to prescribe you. And then again, you'll learn exactly how to set any sales target, reverse engineer it, and guarantee that you hit it. Not be 80%, but 100%. Anytime I set a sales target, I can guarantee that I will hit it. Even if there's bad weather, even if I break my leg, whatever happens, you can still guarantee the success. All right, The 7 Habits. This is one of my favorite books by Stephen R. Covey. Look, there's 3 main pillars that drive sales. You have efficiencies, effort, and education. So in other words, time management, volume, number of people pitched, and your skill set, your close rate. This book right here will teach you how to double your sales just on being more efficient with your time. It will also double your sales by understanding how to win people over. It's what I love about Covey is one of the key principles I learned from him was how to think win-win. So if you struggle with feeling like you ever have to manipulate people or you're not super passionate about what you sell, this is a great book to read, okay? He talks a lot about integrity, just like some of the other authors we've talked about, okay? One of the biggest lessons I've learned is being proactive instead of reactive. To this day, I know some of my top friends in sales that haven't read this book, and I see directly how it's costing them so much money and freedom in their life. Because they're reactive, hopping on calls, just going to the next thing, and they feel like they're on this hamster wheel, just busy, but then they see me lapping them in income and opportunity and still have more time than them. It's because I understand this one habit. It's habit number 1, being proactive instead of reactive. And the reality, guys, is 90% of actions that most people do are reactive. And if you can shift that to just even 50-50 and being proactive and intentional, your life will go to a new level, not just with income and opportunity, but will drastically decrease your stress, okay? So if you struggle with your life feeling like it's a wreck or just like chaos out of like a total mess, this is a fantastic book for you, okay? You'll also learn that private victory precedes public victory, and your public victory can never surpass that of your private victory. So that's why the inner work, whether it's journaling, healing, therapy, that's all critical, but also integrity and being true to yourself, okay? People feel and read energy. People that are not even intelligent by IQ tests have a gift given, I believe, from God to read this energy of intent. And so it's so important that your intentions are clear, that you pour into yourself. Okay, I always say you can't pour, aka you can't sell from an empty cup. You have to fill your cup physically, emotionally, spiritually before you can give to others. The more you give in life, the more you will get. Okay? So this other principle right here, the more you understand, the more you'll be understood. Okay? If you are understood, people buy from you because they understand your point of view. So he'll shift your perspective from like, try to sell to like, forget trying to sell. Just let me understand your situation. And I've applied this principle, guys, and 20% of the time I will listen to the prospect and I'll walk away because I'm like, you know what, this isn't a fit. But it's ironic, I also get about 10 to 20 times the amount of sales that most people do in every industry I've sold. So I'm telling you, learn to pick your prospect, don't sell them, listen, empathize with them, help get what they want, and you'll get everything you want. Key takeaways. You will drastically improve your time management to 2 to 3x your income, okay? Without getting better at your skill set of closing and without having to work harder, you'll still 3x your income. You'll understand how to create win-win situations, so that'll increase your close rate. And if your retention sucks, fantastic book. This is usually the dilemma, is people don't understand the true win-win. They feel like they got manipulated or coerced into something. They feel like they got sold. This book, alongside The Psychology of Selling, are fantastic books to help shift that. You'll learn how consistent training, even like 1 hour a day, will 2 to 3x your results the other 7 hours of your workday. So if you aren't consistently sharpening the saw and improving, you are drastically holding back your results. Guys, I say this all the time where somebody will get like the wind at their backs for like a week or two. They'll feel motivated to learn something and then they drop off. Just make it a standard practice of how you operate, how you work. That training is part of your routine. Imagine if you're chopping logs all day, chopping trees, your axe gets dull, okay? Like it's if you just take 1 hour out of that day to go sharpen the axe, you will chop down 2 times the amount of trees doing the same work. It's a no-brainer, okay? So you might be saying, oh, Nick, I already know that, but you don't do it. And this author, Stephen R. Covey, actually says to know something and not to do something really means you don't know it. So if you're not doing this, I'm sorry, you don't understand it. So this is a great book to read, okay? Finally, you'll learn how to use empathetic listening. This is one of the most powerful and persuasive tools. If you want to talk like borderline manipulative, this is insane, okay? For influencing your partner, friends, people who work with you, empathetic listening is one of the superpowers that the greatest salespeople, the greatest leaders, they all have this gift. And the gift is not given by God, it is developed. Okay, there's a specific strategy. Stephen R. Covey breaks it down. All right, number 9, 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. One of my mentors makes $12 million a year in sales, okay? I'll say it again, $12 million in sales. I asked him, hey, John, what's your number 1 favorite book? And it's not this John, it's another John. He says, Nick, without a doubt, it's 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And I'm like, okay, cool, well, that's for me or you. I'm like, what would you have a new rookie read? He says, same thing, 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. I'm like, well, what about psychology of selling? What about all these other sales books? He said, no. If they understand how to lead themselves and lead others, they understand how to sell and influence at the highest level. And I'll tell you, John is right. If the $12 million a year in commissions doesn't speak loudly enough, I'll share a couple principles that will. Look, one of the things that John Maxwell talks about is the best salespeople often become the best leaders. It doesn't guarantee it, but it is a common theme of success. Okay, and so this will change your mindset to, hey, look, if I can push myself to become a better salesman, I can lead and empower people. And I have very rarely met someone that doesn't want to be a leader or someone that doesn't want to influence people. And if you're thinking that that's not you, that you're humble, I'm sorry. There has been some Christmas or some time in your life where you have been so damn persistent, so lit up about telling your family about something that you've discovered, whether it's a belief system, a new book, a video game, some new tool they can use, some AI thing. There's been some point in your life where you've just gotten so stoked to compel somebody to buy something or shift the way they think. And what's funny is we've done that without even making a commission. And so if you understand this concept and think bigger, think I want to become a leader, it will drive you to get higher performance in sales, okay? There's a lot, guys, a lot of laws that he teaches. And now what I love about how John C. Maxwell teaches is that he teaches these principles as in laws. Like, you could say you don't believe in the law of gravity, but bro, if you jump off a cliff, I'm sorry, whether you believe in that law or not, your ass is falling to the ground, okay? So there's natural laws of influence. The law of addition is one of these that he talks about, that the more value you add, the more that you will create for yourself. And that first, you have to add value and then add business. I see a lot of salespeople just expecting to close, like I was told to close 4 or 5 times and I'll get the deal. I'm sorry. They have to add value. Add value doesn't mean telling them about something. It means understanding, making sure they understand, and making sure there's a need. Okay? And once the value has been created, then there's an exchange of business. Okay? And so being a salesperson, I truly see is helping people change and adding value in changing lives. And the more you can change the way people think, the way people see, you're gifting people with something. And as a return from that, you're going to make more money. Okay? So for people leveling up from sales, many salespeople turn into recruiters, okay? Recruiting becomes natural instead of forced. You will learn the law of attraction rather than chasing. And you'll learn how to attract people to you through how you develop your character, okay? You shift from being a top rep to a top leader and builder. You will learn respect, trust, and intuition will literally get you more sales. You'll learn how to use those exact things to make you more money. Guys, last but not least, this is one of my favorite books. It is The Go Giver. Okay, this book has shifted the way I see selling. If you have any doubt about selling is good or it's manipulative, or you hinder yourself like, oh, I'm just not pushy enough, or I'm not greedy enough, I'm not obsessed. This is a great book because you'll literally shift when you start thinking that way. That you're disempowering yourself, but more importantly, you're disempowering others. Selling is a good thing when you're behind something you believe in. Now, before I talk about the book, I want you guys to imagine you had the cure to cancer. Literally, imagine you have the cure. You go to a doctor, you get shut down. Are you going to feel pity for yourself, remorse for yourself? Again, you have the cure to cancer. No, you're going to keep talking to a ton of people saying, I don't care, you have to, you're going to be very persistent on them taking what you have. Not because you make money, because it is going to save their damn life. This is how you need to think. If you don't have that level of conviction, you don't need to change industries. you need to first understand the principle. Read the book, The Go-Giver, okay? The principle I love is the more you give, the more you get. When I was at Tony Robbins' event, he constantly was telling stories about billionaire after billionaire after billionaire about two themes. They're very grateful and they're very giving. Write that down. Very grateful, very giving. Okay, they learn to pick up pennies and they're very generous. They love to give and serve because they're also greedy. They understand there's this natural law that the more we help other people, the more it comes back to us. Zig Ziglar, one of the best sales trainers of all time, said, if you just help enough people get what they want, you'll have everything that you want. The best salespeople are not the most manipulative. The best salespeople are not the most pushy. The best salespeople are the best at understanding and helping and serving people and helping them get what they want. So this will dramatically increase your conviction for what you sell. Now you say, hey, Nick, I'm already sold on what I sell. Really? Because Grant Cardone says you sell to the degree that you're sold. I totally agree. So if you are really, really sold, you would be like me making $200,000 a month in solar, okay? In a state that people say you could never sell solar. $20,000 a month was phenomenal. So take that to heart. I hope you guys can get something out of this list. Remember, it's not about reading 100 books. It's not even about reading 10. If you read just one of these books, like 7 Habits, and you just took one of the habits and applied it to your life, I know you guys can see massive transformation. So don't get lost trying to check a box with how many books you read. I do believe in putting them in front of yourself and on your shelves. Okay. And another tip for you guys is don't get lost in just doing Audible. I've already said at the beginning of the video, I'll say it again. Listening to a book does not mean you are reading the damn book. I've heard so many people say, yeah, I've read that. I always say, did you read it or did you listen to it? Oh yeah, no, I listened to it, but I read it. I'm like, you didn't read it, bro. This is what reading looks like, is it looks like this, okay? Eyes on a page. There's a difference in psychology when your eyes see something versus when your ears hear it. There's better retention. If you want max retention, Alex Hormozi talks about this superpower of reading something while listening to the audio at the same time. Okay, that's a hack. So you cannot shortcut success. Hyper successful salespeople and entrepreneurs have all put their eyes on paper. If you think you're a unicorn, listen to Audible, you're a dumbass. I love you. I want you guys to be successful. If you have a limiting belief about reading, shift it. Shift it. There's so many people you can serve, a whole different lifestyle you could have, not by reading 100 books, but just by reading a few pages a day. And more important than reading a few pages a day, by writing down 1 or 2 things that you're going to implement. Remember, it's not knowledge that's a superpower. It is the applied knowledge. It's the application of the knowledge. Knowledge without execution is null and void. It is nothing, okay? There's a lot of smart people out there that are bookworms that have nothing to show for it, okay? But their ego about how much they know. Action precedes the knowledge. So again, I love you guys. If this video was valuable, please subscribe to the channel, share the video with somebody. If you know someone that sucks at reading, that hates reading, that's limiting themselves, or that could use something from this video, please, out of love for that person, send it to them. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys take this video and apply something from this and go crush your goals and your dreams going into the next year.